Bullying, YouTubers speak out.
Today, a group of YouTubers have come together to talk about their bullying experiences.
The video's in 3 sections. What happened, how it was dealt with, and the current situation.
When I was about 13 or 14, one of my best friends from when I was 5 years old turned on me with his new friends and began to bully me physically, verbally, and also over Facebook.
From the ages of about 13 to 16, I had a stepdad who would tell me basically every day that I was getting fatter, that I was really ugly, and that I was stupid for ever wanting to go to university because I was clearly too much of an idiot to ever be able to do that.
So when I was younger, my ears were sort of sticking out, and I mean, my ears are quite big already, and people just didn't accept me that I had big ears. I got really hurt, and people were calling me names like Big Ears and Dumbo. And I just sort of felt that no one accepted me for what I looked like.
It all happened when I was about 18 and I started making YouTube videos. My friends didn't really take to it that well. They said I was kind of like making a fool of myself. They started parodying them and putting them up online, kind of making videos, taking the mick out of me pretty much. And yeah, it just wasn't nice, and I didn't know really how to deal with it at the time, so I stopped making videos for about 5 months.
From the age of 12, I got bullied. It started with name calling and being generally picked on. It happened for quite a few years until it got quite serious. A boy in my class, in a science class, he got a Sunny Delight bottle and filled it with acid that we were using for experiments. On the way home from school, he chased me home with it while I was with my friend and threw it over me, and it was really scary at the time.
When I was growing up at school, I was a bit of a misfit. I didn't really belong to any particular group. I kind of just made friends with whoever, and because of that, it meant I was an outsider. I was an easy target, and quite often people used to pick on me, whether it was calling me names, especially because of having hair like this, which is rather messy, or just pushing me about. But I think it was just over a long period of time when you're constantly being excluded from different things, it just really gets you down.
While I was at school, I used to get bullied quite a lot verbally, usually from anything about how I look, my appearance, my height, also the fact that I did YouTube videos. But I would always react and attack them verbally back because I had a bit of a temper, and that would always feed them and make them want to bully me more because to get that reaction, and sometimes it would anger them and make them bully me quite physically.
When I was in primary school, about 8 or 9 years old, I came into school every day to be called boffin and geek, and it made me feel really different, and I felt like I should act stupid or something, or just be different from myself to try and fit in with everyone else.
When I was 9, I moved from Wales to Bristol, and I had a very thick Welsh accent. It wasn't so much a problem, but there was a group at school that really ostracised me. One day I was at the park in particular, and they saw me and rushed at me with water pistols, and they started kicking me and hitting me, dragging me through puddles, pushing me in bushes, and started soaking me with water guns. And it wasn't so much that I knew that, it was just because I was different.
Throughout primary school and secondary school, I was called names constantly. I had a few physical incidents, hair pulled out on the side of the road, things like that. And at the time, I didn't feel very confident at all, and it was very painful, even to the point where I used to have to get my dad to pick me up from the bus stop, which was literally about 10 metres away from my front door, because there was people that used to follow me on the bus, and I was pretty scared that something was going to happen to me.
A close family member of mine made a friend in primary school, and she was friends with her for a while, and one day she came into school and the girl was blanking her and was taking no notice for her at all. And gradually over time it came out that this girl had been stealing from this close family member of mine for a while and was basically using her for her money and didn't want a true friendship, which this family member of mine thought she had.
When I was 13, I had to move to a new school, and everyone had already made their friendship groups, and there was this one particular girl who went out of her way, this big bully, to make my life almost a misery, turning people against me, making up rumours about me that people actually believed. And in the end, I couldn't make any friends.
Yeah, so when I was at school, when I was younger, I was the sort of the oddball, the one with the long hair covered in my face all the time. I drew a lot and just kept myself generally to myself. But people would pick on me for that, and I felt like there was something up with me. I felt like there was something different in a bad way.
A lot of people hear the word bullying and they think of something blatant like being pushed in the playground or called names. But for me, when I was younger, it was a lot more subtle. One of my closest friends used to put me down in front of people and patronise me and manipulate things in our friendship. And I felt it affected me in quite a bad way, and it upset me quite a lot, really. And it's not something that I realised probably at the time was bullying.
Unfortunately, when I was trying to deal with this, speaking to teachers rarely worked, and because I wasn't a part of any particular group, there wasn't much help either. I often got the advice from my parents just to walk away, but there's only so far you can walk away when you're within a school boundaries. So I just had to give it time. You have to kind of get used to it. But over time, people began to mature, and it was just about endurance, and for that I've definitely become a lot stronger.
I'd come home to my parents pretty much crying every night, and they got to the point where they spoke to my head of year, and she spoke to me outside of lessons, but nothing apart from that was really done. I didn't see any difference. It was still the same amount of bullying.
Then when I decided I had to deal with it, it was actually a moment where I came back from a gathering over in Toronto called AdeanaDay, and I came back and I'd been on Fox News for some reason. They'd come up and talk to me and be like, "What do you do on your YouTube videos?" And I was like, went back to my friends. I was like, "Look at this, I was on Fox News." And they were all just like, "Oh, shut up about all that." They literally told me just to shut up. And I was just like, okay, I can't deal with this. So the way I dealt with it was I left school, just went to my parents and said, "I need to go, I can't deal with this."
If I'm honest, the school didn't really tackle the problem much. The problem that had been weighing over this family member of mine kind of didn't go away until she eventually moved on to secondary school, where she would never have to see this girl again.
After I told my parents, they got in touch with the school and he got suspended for a month.
So I actually got my ears pinned back to my head. They're actually sewn back. I can't pull them forward because I was so conscious of what people were saying. I just thought there was something wrong with me, so I wanted to change it.
Luckily for me, when this bullying got to the worst point, it coincided with my family moving away. Although this bullying continued in my new school, I got more confident with my new friends and learned to get over it.
At first I dealt with it in really stupid ways. I self-harmed for a while. I used to make myself sick and go on ridiculous diets in order to try and make myself feel better and to deal with the stress of being bullied. But then eventually I learned that that's not a good way to deal with it. And I started just concentrating more on finding friends through other routes other than school and concentrating on things other than my home life.
I came to the point where I realised if I stopped reacting back at them, I would stop feeding them and they would most likely just give up calling me names and would never get to the stage where they would start attacking me physically.
It was never really dealt with. It just kind of petered out as we grew older. I moved into different friendship groups and everything kind of sorted itself out.
Even though my parents informed the school and my teachers knew what was happening, the bullying continued.
How I came to deal with it, there wasn't any direct intervention from anybody else, like my parents or teachers, because I felt like I could deal with it by myself, by being, be by myself and being creative, because that's what made me happier.
So at the time it was very upsetting, but I decided the way to really deal with it was, instead of feeling bitter and upset about it, was to truly forgive him. So it took a while, but I really made sure that in my heart I was forgiving and letting go of it, even though I felt he was in the wrong.
I actually confronted the bullying when I was about 15 years of age, and one day someone said a comment to me and I just simply turned round. I don't know why, but I just turned round and just said, and I think that confrontation of me not being worried about it anymore and not taking in what they were saying kind of startled them a bit, and randomly it just finished after that. It was very peculiar, but it just ended, and I think that confidence obviously that they saw in me at that point kind of shooed them away.
Now I'm pretty much fine mentally, but I still get names every now and again for my YouTube, for how I look, for whatever, but I don't react to it as much as I used to, and if I do feel like I need to react to it, I usually go to someone who's, like a teacher who's in charge, and just tell them, look, this is going on, can you tell them to stop it? And it never really gets to the stage where it's physical anymore.
I think being bullied has made me feel stronger as a person, socially stronger, but it's still a mark in your life that you can't really get rid of.
Looking back on it is really crazy because everything that happened after that kind of was not like proving them wrong, but like the second I moved school, I got a job in RTE, which is the national broadcaster of Ireland, and all of a sudden I started getting messages from everybody being like, oh, can you promote my band? Can you put that on the telly? And all that sort of stuff. And it was just kind of like bittersweet in that way. I was kind of like, oh, they're trying to be my friend now. But looking back on it, I've seen a couple of them since, and I kind of just forgive them for being young and not understanding what it was that I was doing, because a lot of people, even my parents, kind of saw the videos and were like, what's going on? I don't know what he's doing with his time. And yeah, now just looking back, it kind of just feels like a different me as well. You know, 5 years ago I wasn't the same person, and when I look at them, I'm like, they weren't the same person. We were all kids one day, and we all are just kind of trying to learn as we go.
I feel a lot more confident in myself now because I confronted the bullying, and at the moment I feel great.
Even though it's hard to deal with at the time, now I know that it's okay to be an individual.
Now I feel a lot more stronger and confident, but I'd really hate for other people to experience what I did.
Seeing as that was a while ago, this family member of mine is a lot better. She's kind of forgotten about it, but ever since then she's had a very firm hate for anything to do with bullying, and you know, will do anything to stop bullies, and very often tells people off for bullying, which is good.
After 7 months of being at school, my parents decided it was best that I moved to a new school. The school was really lovely. I made so many friends, some which I am still very close to now, and I turned out very happy.
Due to this confidence boost, I began to do YouTube, and the response from the community and the people who watched me let me believe in myself and not let these things affect me.
So today I'm now making YouTube videos, comedy videos with my friend Jack, and nothing makes me happier. It's the best thing I could possibly do, and I feel like I've helped myself get to this point by being creative, by filming, by writing, by doing all sorts of stuff that makes my mind go crazy and go in those funny places, and it makes me very happy to where I am, and I felt like I could do this. And it makes me feel like people could, you know, help themselves out of a rut by being kooky and being silly, and knowing that being different is totally okay.
I feel a lot happier about my ears now. I mean, I'm happy with the way I look, but I'm just disgusted the way that people didn't accept me for what I look like. Just because I had big ears, they were taking the mick out of me for no reason.
I'm at university now, and I'm doing good. I'm a lot more confident than I used to be, and life is good.
So now, surprisingly, we're really good friends, and although at the time I'd forgiven him, it wasn't until years later that he actually apologised for some of the things and the way he treated me. And it was just a really emotional time. We bonded, and now we're really, really good friends.
Unfortunately, when you're at school, you only have a select group of people you're able to make friends with. But after leaving and having YouTube come along, because I was there when it first started, it was amazing to find an online community where you could find people with similar interests, with people that cared about the same things as you do. And of course, there are trolls, there are people that hate out there. But luckily you have the block button, which means you can actually ignore, turn away, and invest your time with those that matter most.
If you've been affected by bullying, please don't sit alone in silence. Speak out.
There's lots of useful information below and websites that you can have a look at.
Also, if you see somebody being bullied, please do something about it.
If we all act together, we can make a difference.